All right, I'm Jason Ginty. That is Ryan. Welcome to the Play Pants podcast. Rod, the reaction this week's been pretty wild since we've announced this thing. And the video that was made by our producer, Jake Fisher, he did a nice job. It explains things. It explains things a little bit. And I thought today, man, we should really get into the story of how did two dopes that look like this meet?
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting week. So it's been a week now that the announcement's been made about you and I doing a podcast. For most, I mean, the Houston audience, they're like, okay, well, who is this guy? So there was a need to kind of give a little bit of a backstory, which we'll get into some more of that. But I heard from people that listened to us in New Orleans, 18 years ago. And they were like, holy shit, I can't believe you guys are like getting back together. And I said, well, we've always been friends. We never really, we didn't break up, even though, Jason and I guess we'll get into it. We were like inseparable for the longest time. The ways that our careers mirrored one another. People just assumed that we were gay lovers. We up to and including living together and everything else. It's been a fun week, though, hearing from people, even people that don't know you or don't know me. Just you can tell that people are like they're ready for another podcast. It seems like there's a million of them out there, but it was good to hear from people saying that they were excited about what this thing was going to be all about.
Yeah, it's funny because like when we talked about this a while back, it was like, what the world needs is two white dudes talking about pop culture. We need another podcast like that because there's not enough out there. And then we said, well, wait a minute, there's a million of them, but can they do it like we do it? And that's what we both said. We're both like, can we do it like we do it? Plus, we worked together. And the day we met, and we'll get into that in a minute, we just were like fireworks going off, man. We got to work immediately. We didn't go, hey, where are you from? Where's this? How's this? No, dude, I like this band right here. Yeah, no way, me too. And we put together a damn metal show. Like, that's how it happened. It was insane. But all people are excited about, I know people in New Orleans are excited. And what I'm excited about, and I haven't even told you this, is the fact that you've got two guys who worked together for 10 years, really well together. Finish each other's sentence, married couple shit. Yeah.
When we were all when we were just getting started and we were kind of formulating and finding our own voice. It takes you a long time in this business to kind of find yourself, get your footing. Okay, what do I want to sound like? How do I want to present myself? Right. Those 10 years are like, your first 10 years are like 25 years.
What's interesting for me is like when I started thinking about it even more, I'm like, wait a minute. Then we haven't worked. We've been friends ever since, but we haven't worked together. We talk radio occasionally, but we haven't worked together in 20 years. So I'm like, wait a minute, dude's got 20 years under his belt of experience now. I got 20 years of completely different radio experience, both successful careers, but way different worlds. And I'm like, the more I thought about it, I'm like, man, we could really have some interesting insight on everything because of our experience separately. So let's bring it together and hopefully this is pretty good.
And I wish, so full disclosure, I looked at, we went and did all the things that you got to do in this day and age. So, the name, Play Pants podcast, I looked it up and two white dicks was taken. So then we settled on Play Pants.
Yeah.
So we had to go in and reserve all of the, all of the names online. So at Play Pants Pod. So we've got the Instagram and the Facebook and the Twitter and the YouTube. Jason, he's going to be doing some dances on TikTok soon. He told me he was going to start that up. But I looked on Instagram. The first time that I put something up for Play Pants Pod, it was 2019. I didn't realize that I first brought this because I came to you with this. I didn't realize that I first said something about it in 2019. So I don't know if it upsets me that it took us this long to do and that it's all on me. It's 100% on me. And you can just blame it on like last year was just such a turd of a year. But I can't believe how long this has been talked about. And it's finally happening, episode 1. And you use the term work. This is not work. This to me Okay, Monday through Friday, I get up, I have a great time doing the morning show. That is work, though. I don't want it to sound the same. I don't want it to be the same. I'm sitting down. Everything about it is different. Even just sitting at home and not being in a studio, it automatically it has a different feel about it.
I just think the thing that when you brought it up, you're like, we should do a podcast. And I'd been thinking about it for a while, for a couple of years. And I think we've talked about it over the years. I'm like, dude, eventually, and I'm not saying anytime soon, hopefully, but I mean, eventually you're not going to be doing radio and I'm not going to be doing radio. But with all our knowledge and all our experience, we got to think of something to do. And this was before podcast even came to be a real thing. And I remember saying, man, Rod, you're good at interviews. You should figure out a way to start just doing interviews. Like what was the old, not old, but the behind the actor's studio or inside the actor's studio. You do that with rock stars. And that was my idea. I'm like, you should be doing that, right? For podcasts or video. And that's before podcasts. And then it's always been there. It's always been in the background somewhere. I always knew like somewhere down the road, we're going to end up doing something. And then the podcast thing came up. And then when you said we should call it Play Pants, I've already got an idea. I know what we can call it, Play Pants. I'm like, and I went, holy shit. And I haven't thought about the word play pants since I was a kid. And the fact that we tell that story at the beginning of the video that we posted on our YouTube channel. And like, that's not made up shit, man. Like my mom, I had 2 damn drawers. You don't touch this one on the weekends. This is for the weekends. These are your play clothes. These are your play pants, your play shirts. And they were all just my old school clothes from the year before is all they were. And when I put on the play pants, it's like, yeah, I'm not worried about saying something funny about Leonard Skinner on a classic rock station. I'm not worried about saying something for 13 seconds before I got to play a commercial. It's like you can wander all over the field a little bit. And that's why this is so great. And you're right. It's relaxed.
The playpant thing, when I've been thinking about it for a long, long time. And I can't remember. It maybe came up from a conversation, but I don't know that has translated to other generations. I don't know if it's just because we're old, but my mom was so strict about getting home from school. And I mean, all you want to do is play. You've been in like jail all day. Every day you got let go, 3:00, it was like, being released from jail. You got all that energy. And my mom knew that we were going to destroy whatever it is that we were wearing. And we had to go and put on our play pants. I mean, I remember specifically my mom yelling at us, make sure, change your clothes. What are you doing? I mean, if you started playing, because we walked home. So by the time we got home, you didn't even want to go in the house. You just wanted to play in the yard. And we had to come in. It was the absolute worst thing in the world. But you put on those play pants. It was just former school clothes that I ripped the crotch out of them. I ripped the knees out of them.
Oh yeah.
They were tough skins. They were probably Huskies. I don't want to talk about it. But as soon as you put them on, that was your cape. That was your uniform to go out there and start kicking a little ass and having a good time. So I don't know if the name is kind of lost on some people, but even if it is, I've seen dumber names. I've seen much better names out there, but that's what we decided on. So we're going to stick with that. You talked about us and when we met, and I think that's actually a pretty good story, which I think I can really scope it in. I met Jason at community college in the early 90s. You might know the date. I don't know.
Wait. Yeah, community college. Is that a surprise or what? Right? These two guys.
Yeah, look around. It's one of those two. Look I brag about it. One of those is community college, and then the other one is Buffalo State College. But all the dummies went there. I couldn't. It's not University of Buffalo. It's Buff State. But one of those that it's Niagara County Community College.
Yeah.
So there was a radio station. There was a radio station there, and I was just a failed rock star that kind of quit my band, and I decided on a whim to take radio, to go to school for radio. So I go to the very first, when I started, whatever semester I started, when I went to the very first open meeting for the radio station, And the dude is up, the Rob Mazei.
Yeah.
He's up in the front of the room, and he's talking about radio and the radio station and who wants to be involved. And he's, talking. And then he said, does anybody have any thoughts? Or I can't remember. There was some kind of an open forum where he just wanted some feedback. Has anybody heard the station and whatever? And for whatever reason, I raised my hand and I said, I heard some comedy show on the station and it sucked. Now, I don't know anybody in this room. I heard some comedy show where these comedians are talking. And now keep in mind, this wasn't like a broadcast radio station. It was kind of on in the cafeteria and in the halls.
Right.
And I was like, nobody can hear what's going on. Like, it's taking too long to get to the bit. And I go, that comedy show sucks. But lo and behold, a little guy named Jason Ginty was the one that was putting that comedy show together. So I don't know if it was later that day, but I'm in the hallway and the guy comes over to me, the guy that's running the station. He said, hey, come here. And there's this little squirrely kid standing next to him. And he goes, hey, man, come over here, Rod. So I go over there and he's like, well, what? You didn't like the comedy show? I said, no, man, it sucks. And he points to you and he goes, this is the guy that makes it.
Ballsy move, by the way. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
This is me meeting Jason. The show that you said sucks. This is the guy that makes it. He goes to me, he goes, what do you think the station needs? And I said, it needs a metal show. And the little squirrely kid goes, yes.
Yes.
Just like that.
Absolutely.
And he said, Rod, this is Jason. Jason, this is Rod. You guys are going to do a metal show together. That was it. What did I miss? What's incorrect about what I said there?
Not a damn thing. It's exactly 100% right. And you know what's funny about it? Yeah, no. And you know what's great about it is anyone in their right mind would have been, because I was sitting there in the room when you asked that question. You said it. And you tore it.
See, I don't even remember you being in the room because that classroom was pretty packed with people.
Yeah.
I don't know. How did you react when this brand new asshole walks in and says, the show that you're working on, that you've been working on, sucks? I never asked you that question.
Inside, I was like, finally, for the love of Christ, someone has finally brought this to light. Because what most people don't realize that was at the radio station at the time, I had spent the entire semester saying to the guy, Rob, who ran the radio station, this comedy show is a piece of shit.
So he forced you to do it? Like, was it his idea?
Yeah, he's like, well, I know you can cut and splice and edit and stuff. And I said, nobody can hear it in the hallways. You literally said everything I had been saying for like 4 months. And he was like, no, you got to do it. That's you got that half hour. You got to produce that. That's your thing. You're the editor guy for the radio station. You got to do it. All I was doing, there was a local radio station that ran a comedy hour on Sunday nights. I would record it and then reorder it, and then I'd replay it. That's all I was doing. I was completely lifting it off the radio. I hated it.
How long did you do it for? Before I said that it sucked and I came in and crashed your world. How long had you been doing it?
Almost a year. And it was a half-hour show. It was a half hour of this bullshit, right? So as you're saying it, at first I'm like, who is this mother? And then I look at you and you got like the long hair and all the whole rocker look. And I go, holy shit, who is that guy? And then you said that, and I'm just sitting there and I looked up at Rob, who's the guy who ran on the radio station, and I started smiling. And he looked at me quick. And I remember this so vividly. And he goes, you can just see his face. He goes, son of a bitch. So that's when I was out there talking to him again. I said, and I remember it vividly as well. It's so weird. When you walked up, I was literally standing there going, dude, see, you see. And I'd been harping about a rock show, a metal show, a hard rock show, because all that grunge shit was starting to bubble up and a lot of it was real heavy. I go, dude, we got to do a rock show. I remember,
what's that cartoon where there's the big dog and then there's that little dog going, come on.
I was hopping around like
that was you circling this guy in the hallway. As
like
I'm walking up.
Shark. I was like a shark for the kill. I go, dude, for months I'd been lobbying. And what you said was exactly everything I had been saying. And when you walked up and said, we need a metal show, I just was like, I was about to explode out of my skin.
Lightning bolts came down. Ronnie James Dio appeared.
I mean, it was so freaking great. And one thing you gotta, we look way different right now, but at the time I was a skinny, I look the same. Skinny doofus, right? Rod comes up, long hair, the ripped jeans and badass. Rod, Jason, go do a metal show. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think this is going to work. You scared the shit out of me, dude.
Yeah,
You scared the hell out of me.
We didn't know each other at all. So now we go. And then I don't remember. I remember the moment so vividly when we said we were going to do the metal show. And it's weird. I don't know if you went right, I went left, he went straight. I don't know what happened right after that. I know that story so well, and I know it so vividly. I remember saying the radio station needs a metal show. You saying yes, and then it's like I blacked out. Did you punch me? I don't. Did we sit down and start talking? I don't remember what happened immediately after that.
I think we were all heading to classes, but then we both basically.
So then we all had to split.
We had to split. So then we both said, "Hey, let's meet, outside the radio station lounge, and we'll just bring your ideas." And then you and I literally
had to like give a time or something. There was no cell phone, so it wasn't like, "Hey, here's my number."
I'll see you back.
There was none of that.
No, it was, "I'll see you back here this afternoon at 3:00, whatever the hell it ended up being, right? So we go back to the lobby, and you have to keep in mind, a lot of people in radio don't have a really good work ethic. I'm sure, as you can attest to, a lot of people don't. Throughout your career, you've seen it.
People are lazy. People are super lazy in radio.
In any job, really. But Rod and I, who don't know each other, I don't even know his last name. We sat down and you started talking. I started talking. What about this? What about this band? What about this? How should we do it? What should we do? We were going to take over he would only give us a half an hour. We were going to replace the comedy show. And he said, "You got 2 weeks. Go make it happen." And we literally went. And we started talking about our favorite artists, our favorite bands, what we're into, drinking, all this shit. You came up with the name, the Metal Asylum. I'm like, that name today should still be a metal show somewhere in the world because it's such a great name. And then,
I wanted to use the A. I wanted the Anarchy A for Asylum. I remember that, all that stuff kind of rolling.
It was
very
quick.
Easily.
It was quick.
Again, having a conversation with somebody that you don't know at all. And it really, looking back on it, hearing you talk about it, it's kind of trippy that how easily everything started to flow. It wasn't
immediately.
Like, I don't want to do this. Nah, that's kind of stupid. It was crazy how the ideas and everything was just spilling out.
And it was great because, you take those two elements, like you come from a rock band element. You were in the world. You got that side of it way more than I did. I didn't get that.
I had just quit my band. So, and we were kind of, not a big time touring band. We were never signed to a contract, but that was my decision to quit the band. So I'm fresh off of that, right, and going to community college and starting my life over.
Yeah. And you were a couple of years older than me. I wasn't even 21, dude. Like I was like 19 years old or whatever the hell it was. And, so we're coming from different worlds.
I was coming in hungover all the time and you couldn't drink.
I'm like, what? What do you mean? Where are you hungover from, dude? You're like, I don't know. They had like nickel night down at the bar and I was down there for 9 hours. I'm like, what? Dude, we got a radio show to do. So long story short, we put this thing together and we present it. And he's like, not bad. So then we started, you get your name on these lists. So then within a couple of days, and we came up with stupid names and all this shit. And we really went all in. We went all in 100%. We didn't care and we sucked. But what was cool is you get on these lists for record labels and then all of these albums and singles started pouring into the radio station.
Oh yeah, that was
to us. And we're like, holy shit, look at this stuff. We're getting this. And we had our stupid little fake names on there and they were coming in. And I'm like, and that's when we first heard, and I know we're getting wild now, but Stone Temple Pilots Sex Type Thing, right? Came in. And you're like, dude, you've got to hear this song. You've got to hear this song. And I'm like,
it absolutely blew my mind. Stone Temple Pilots, the core album. And I don't remember if they sent us a CD single. I think they sent us the whole album.
Probably, yeah.
And Sex Type Thing, they told you, hey, this is the single that we're pushing. And, boom. It's a record label sending two assholes at a community college an album and recommending the single that we play. And I remember it absolutely blowing my mind. Tool. We got that first Tool Opiate EP and we were playing the cover of, I believe Hush is on there. Yes. So we were playing that. We got Alice in Chains early because they had already had Facelift out there, but we got a copy of Dirt before anybody.
Right.
And Dirt to me still to this day is one of the greatest, grunge albums of all time. Yeah, we got that stuff early, but it was fun. That was our first taste of like a record label acting like they cared about this dumb show that was on once a week.
And what's interesting is we didn't have a model, really. We both listened to we listened to a lot of radio. So we just kind of emulated everything we had heard. So we took the time to make what we call sweepers in the biz. We took and made all these little IDs, right? The Metal Asylum, weekdays at noon or whatever it was, Fridays at noon. And we produced that up. Nobody else on the radio station was really doing that stuff. And we actually went around and got what's called IDs, right? Where, normally you go, hey, this is Eddie Van Halen and you're listening to XYZ radio station. Those are IDs. That's cool. That makes your station sound badass. That connects you with the artist, right? So we had the goofy idea to go around to all the teachers in the college and all the professors. Hey, can you cut an ID for what? A metal show. And they're like, what? But we got all these teachers.
What's an ID? So we had to write up a script for them.
It was,
and we went to our communications professors and stuff, and then we got to the president of the college, which you and I are sitting. It's just like an 80s movie where we're so sitting there. There's the receptionist. There's the two chairs. We're waiting to go see the principal, although it's the president of the college, which it's a community college, but still it was a big deal for us. And we go in to see him with our dumb Radio Shack tape recorder. I believe it was yours. And you got the little goofy plastic microphone. I mean, it's so low tech.
Terrible.
And we had to sit down, and in the middle of this man's day running a college, we told him, well, we'll do a metal show and we'd like to do this and blah, blah, blah. Would you, and I can't remember, but I don't remember it being a problem. He said he would do it. And I remember him you remember his name, the president? Because
no, I can't remember his name.
But I remember him cutting it. And he said, you're listening to the Metal Asylum. I'm like, what nice diction this guy has. He runs the whole place. And he cut us the ID and we put it together. And we just thought that was better than getting, Maynard from Tool to talk about us. We had the president of the college on our show like it was an endorsement.
And it was great because I remember that vividly as well. We're sitting on the couch, right? And we both kind of smelled like booze and we didn't look the best. And we're trying to we're buttoning up our shirts a little higher than normal. And we're trying to be presentable. And we looked like we got dragged by the Playpants bus, basically. And I remember when we were done recording, hey, thank you very much, sir. This is great. Really appreciate it. I remember we're walking out. He goes, hey, wait a minute. You guys play like a hard rock, heavy music show. And we're like, yes, sir, we do. And we were all golly shucks and the hell out of that guy too, man. And he goes, you don't play any of that Ozzy Osbourne, do you? And we look at each other like, no, sir. So, dude, we were best behavior, man. Oh my God. And that's when I realized we both had an incredible work ethic. We sucked, but we had a work ethic. That's what mattered because you can build on that. You don't need talent. You just need a good work ethic.
And the radio station, we talked about it. It's basically just carried in was there ever like a lo-fi just on campus or it was literally just.
It was piped into the cafeteria.
In the cafeteria and a couple of hallways and that was it. So, it was a way to practice. It was a way to learn. That's all it was, if you really wanted a career in radio, it was a great start. It was a great place to be. I certainly cannot shit on community colleges because you're looking at two products of them. So I don't know if that's an endorsement or not, but the moment that I felt powerful is Jason and I, we tried to do a giveaway like you would on a radio station. And there was no phone number to call because there was no phone. I mean, it's just in the halls. So we said something like the first person down to the radio station, we'll give you, I think it was a Manowar cassette. And the label had sent us some extras.
Oh, yeah.
And some kid, and that guy that put us together, the program director, he's in his office. And we set it on the air, not thinking that anyone's hearing or listening to us. And we're playing the next song. And some kid completely out of breath with his JanSport backpack hanging off of one arm, and he's sweaty. He's like, I'm here for the giveaway for the cassette. And I do remember Rob, who was the program director. He even had a look like, you guys got somebody to come down here. Somebody's listening to the words that are coming out of your mouth. It was one of those moments. And for me, it was pretty powerful. It was a pretty huge moment where you and I said something on the radio and we got a reaction to mobilize somebody. That's power. That was power. And that was the first time for me that I said, wow, microphone, airwaves, cafeteria.
Right.
We could do something here. Not only could people listen, but we could move people. Yeah. That to me was a huge day. That was a massive day. Obviously, telling that story, one that I've never forgotten, and things haven't changed. If we're going to be out at an event, come to this. I realize, you got bands, but you're telling people to come to your concert, come to BuzzFest, but having a meat raffle, and you're telling people to come to your meat raffle because it's a charity thing that we do here in Houston. And when you walk in, because there's no pre-sale tickets for that one in particular, you walk into that bar and it's packed. Like, fuck. Somebody heard what I said on the radio. It's the same feeling walking into that packed bar and seeing everybody ready to go for your event. It's that kid coming down for the Manowar cassette. Same feeling. It's never gone away. It's never lost its magic.
No, because the thing about radio is like, stand-up comedians, you tell your joke. If it's good, people clap, people laugh. You go to a movie, you get to see people in the audience. You get to see the receipts. When you're on the radio and you say something on the radio, you're sitting in a closet by yourself usually, or maybe you've got cast members. Yep. You don't get any feedback until, now with social media, you get it pretty quick. But back in the day, it'd be weeks before someone comes to you, go, hey, remember that thing you said on the radio the other day? And I'm like, no, not really. But then you get that feedback and you'd be like, wow, that's pretty powerful. But what was interesting is then we started to get a little bit crazy, because then we started bringing in lights into the studio and we went out of our minds.
Like, you started bringing in lights. This guy brought in a crazy, like a fireman, police siren. I mean, he wanted to dim the lights.
We had a strobe going.
Jason is now... He's taking off whatever clothes he's wearing, just like, awesome. Okay, this is play pants right here. Jason was wearing different clothes to do the radio show. Like, we were on stage somewhere in front of people. You put on different clothes that you didn't wear to school that day. You went, I'm going to go change. I said, what?
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I'm going to go change.
Yeah.
It's a radio show. There's no cameras. There's no internet.
Nothing.
It's in a closet in a community college.
Yep.
Jason went went into a telephone booth and came out wearing an outfit like he was a rock radio DJ, a metal DJ.
I went all in, man. And I remember you looking at me like,
dude, I totally forgot that you changed your clothes to do the show.
Actually, you know
what's wrong with you?
I did too. You know what, dude? You go all in. I mean, I learned it from Kiss. Go all in, go 100%. And you know what, dude? It helped to sell it, because what we're doing is selling emotion on the radio. We're selling emotion. And if you're going to sit there and be a dope and not get into it, then it doesn't work. You're not going to move the needle. You got to show that emotion. And yeah, maybe I took it a little bit too far, put a little too much effort into a half-hour radio show broadcast to a cafeteria where nobody gave a shit. But you know what was interesting is that we did move people, because that kid was the first one. We turned the lights down. And you brought in a strobe light, and we had all these lights going for that half hour, a half an hour. That's like 5.5 songs, man. And we had a window that looked out into the one open area in the college. People would come by and be hanging out of the window and waving at us. Dude, we had people hanging outside of the studio. Well, we're doing a radio show at a community college that 12 people might be listening to.
And no one else had that reaction. There were other shows on there. There were just, it was a college radio station. So it just played, early alternative songs. And, college radio was always way ahead of the curve. So, I mean, Judy Batts, Swerve Driver. I remember just a couple, but nobody else was kind of getting that reaction. And I think that's where that's where I realized, like, wow, this is kind of cool. This is pretty neat. I had just quit the band, and that's the complete opposite of what you were talking about with radio, because you're just in a room. You're not getting that instant reaction. For the same reason why you see actors, you're on the set, you're making a movie. If you've ever wondered why they go to Broadway, is because they want to be up on stage and they want to be in front of an audience and they want to get that feedback immediately. Okay.
Right.
They could be a big, movie star, but you don't have people clapping for you and reacting to you. And that's why a lot of people will go and do Broadway. So I'm just coming off of that world where, I'm playing every weekend in the band and you're getting that reaction. And then radio, I saw that it was possible on a different level, but it was possible to get that reaction. And it goes back to that kid that came down for that Man-O-War cassette. I would love to find him and thank him, because that was all I needed. If you want to know what the spark was, it was that kid picking up that freaking cassette. It really was. Holy shit. Something that we said got somebody to do something. That was huge. So we did this college show, and I want to say, did it not get expanded to an hour?
Yeah, because when we fought, because we had such a because that kid was the first. We started. That's when you go, we got to do that every week. We got to do that every week.
Because it felt so good, man. I mean, it was like crack.
Well, we ended up getting, we ended up getting a sponsor. Remember, we had this T-shirt company that made tie-dyes in their living room, tie-dye T-shirts. And we gave away tie-dye T-shirts that have nothing to do with a metal show, of course, but we didn't care. We had a sponsor, man. Now, they didn't pay us any money, but we had a sponsor. We gave away T-shirts. We gave away T-shirts. We gave away CDs so people would come down. And there'd be guys sweating there, sitting there. And we're like, all right, here you go, buddy. And then it got really weird because they wanted to meet us. They're like, hey, oh my God, this is where you guys do the show. We're like, yeah, come on in. Isn't it cool? And it's like, holy shit. So we really got our first taste of what it could be, and we didn't know what we were doing. That's the beauty of it. And it was terrible. A lot of it was so bad, but we learned as we went. We kept trying new shit, and that's what it's all about. Right. You have to keep trying. And that's what got us to this place today, I think.
Yeah. So I do want to get into the internship a little bit. And again, it just kind of continues to be weird, and I'm okay talking about this. I think it's good. But you mentioned this. We got sponsors on this thing already.
I'm blown away.
We have sponsors on podcast, Playpants Pod. We have sponsors already day one. So apparently we're sponsored by, for those of you that are watching the YouTube video, we're sponsored by Jason's Chair. So I'd like to thank Jason's Chair for showing up to the video.
The dog wants to come in. The dog wants to come in. I can't stop the dog because it's just going to sit there and look at me for the next hour. So yeah, dog wants to come in.
We've been going about 30 minutes now. No dog, no kid yet. This is amazing. I thought they'd both be scratching on the door. But go ahead. We've got our first sponsor.
Yeah, check this out. Lucky's Pub West, I-10 and Barker Cypress. What a great place, man.
So great.
Rockets games, Astros baseball, 40 TVs in this place, man. You spin around, you're going to see a damn TV playing the game. I pretty much guarantee that. Opening day is coming up, man, April 8th. And check this out. Lucky's West is going to have a huge party. Imagine that. And these guys know how to throw a big party, man. Amazing food, best pizza on the best side. They got the killer wings, the burgers, and that famous Philly cheesesteak egg roll. Get in the mouth. And on the weekends, dude, cold beers and delicious crawfish. They're doing crawfish on the weekends. Check the Facebook page for details. Always an ice cold beer at a fair price. Lucky's Pub West, I-10 at Barker Cypress. Why am I not having crawfish right now? I'm sitting here talking to your dumb ass. What the hell?
So
why?
So the reason that the reason that the metal show kind of came to an end is Jason had started school before me. So I went on and I think I did one more year of the metal asylum. I had to do it by myself. But while we were doing the metal show together, Jason had an unbelievable opportunity to intern at the big classic rock radio station. For those of you that are watching from Houston and you remember back in the day, there was a 97 Rock here in Houston, same logo, same everything, not affiliated though, but it was 97 Rock, WGRF in Buffalo. And it was the station that we all kind of grew up listening to, Snorton Norton, the morning show. If you were a kid, you listened to this. And for whatever reason, they opened it up to 2-year colleges. So you and I, he's a living legend. He's in such rarefied air. But Jim Pastrick was the production director at 97 Rock, and he had a stream of interns every semester. And somehow Jason got in there, and he was the first ever 2-year college intern. They only accepted people from Buff State, UB, Canisius. In Buffalo, you had to be at a 4-year school. Right. And they kind of took a chance on Jason, and he interned while we were doing the metal show together. And he was telling me, dude, I'm walking in the halls and I see Anita West, and I saw Carl Russo today. And, these are all the guys that we grew up listening to. And Jason does this internship back in the days when internships were just that. You didn't get paid. But Jason had to do a great job. And this is something that I got to tell you, because I got to thank you. The only reason that I'm sitting where I am today in this really nice house is because Jason did such a good job on his internship that when his internship was over, they said, well, who else is over there? Is there anybody else like you? So you put in a good word for me. The program director put in a good word for me at the college station. And then I got to go next. Right. And I didn't want to fuck up what Jason had already kind of laid the tracks down, because Jason was the pioneer on this thing. And you don't want to be the guy that, okay, you sent us one, we lucked out, and then the next guy sucked and no more 2-year schools. Right. So I had to live up to what Jason did. So I had to bust my ass at this thing. So that was our in. That was where we just had that little crack in the door. So I worked my ass off at that internship. And then we both got a phone call to work at, when a radio station, very rarely do they own just one station. They own, a cluster. Right. So there was this shitty AM station that they just needed somebody to run the board. And I say run the board like this, because that's what you would think, running the board and no, it was running the board. It was like the first ever radio board that had big doorknobs on it. And Jason and I got hired for our first paying radio jobs on the same day.
$5 an hour, baby. So $5 an hour. Killing it.
It was $5 an hour. So then we're working at that job together, but we're down the hall from the coolest radio station
ever
in the city. And it's 103.3 WUFX. It is the Fox. And that's our wheelhouse. Even though we interned at the classic rock station, it was the rock station that Jason and I listened to. And these dudes are just down the hall where we're working the board, and just doing these boring AM talk shows. Down the hall is like, that's the pot of gold.
Legends.
Like where we were at in our careers, that was the pot of gold. And we both were smart enough to know that we're in the building.
That's all that matters.
We're here. It's down the hall. And you're just wanting to get noticed. You want people to know your name. You want to be around. So even when we weren't working, we were just hanging out. Like Jason and I, they only needed one person at a time to work at this station. But I would come in to relieve Jason, and I would come in 2 hours early just to hang out. Yeah. And then my shift would start, and then Jason would hang out for another 2 hours. We just wanted to be around, so that we could talk to the guys. And most importantly, have that program director, Bob Richards, at the time, see us. It's all about your face, and you're waiting to get that call. And Jason got the call first. Jason was available. I went on to 4-year school. I went on to Buff State. Jason was done. You were done with school after 2 years. So he could spend much more time there. And I'm watching Jason blow past me. I'm like, shit, they've asked Jason to do something. The program director spoke to you of the Fox. He talked. He knows your name. He doesn't know my name. Why does he know Jason? He doesn't know me. And Jason is blowing past me, and he's just getting all these opportunities. And you started working part-time at the rock station long before I did. And I was happy for you. I mean, they're really, you would think that somebody, and I talk like I was insanely jealous. It wasn't like that. It was just, I was so fucking happy for you that you were on the air down there and you were getting some opportunities. And I'm watching you, and I didn't feel like I was sinking. I always felt like I was going to get the call and I was going to get my chance. But, and I don't know that we've ever talked about this, but you on the air at the Fox on the weekends and filling in, I hadn't even done anything with them yet. It went on for a couple of months. And I got to be honest with you, I just thought it's so weird that I don't remember a jealous moment at all. I really don't. I just remember being so happy for you. I couldn't believe that you were talking on the cool rock station.
Don't worry. I was going to bring you along. Like I did with the internship.
Well, I'm hanging on. I'm like, don't go.
Just hang on, brother.
Don't leave me down here in the AM world.
Come on. You just keep up. You keep up with Papa here. No. Yeah. But I remember talking to you. And I remember like occasionally I'd be like, and I'd be excited about it. I'd be talking to you about it. I'm like, dude, we'd be having beers and stuff afterwards or at night. And I'd be like, dude, so then this and then this. And then I fucked this up. And then I screwed this up. And I said this wrong. And I got yelled at for this. And I was dying. I just was terrible, right? And I was getting yelled at by everybody. But then I remember telling you these stories, and I'm like thinking after a while, I went, oh, but I'm doing it. And I'm kind of sounding like,
but I get to do it and you don't. Yeah. But there wasn't, I can't explain it because we're all, so incredibly motivated and wanting to get ahead. And I just remember, because I still was in school, because I still had time left because I was trying to do, I was Buff State. And there was something that was really motivated me. I still don't know why, but I really wanted that 4-year degree. That was important to me. It really was. I don't know. I mean, that's whatever. I don't know what it's done. Nothing, as a matter of fact, but it meant something to me. So I was fine. I just remember being so fucking happy for you that you were doing that. And I just felt like I'm going to get my time. My time's coming, but let Jason have the spotlight now. And you really like leaps and bounds. I mean, left me in the dust. You were filling in when the boss was off, and that was like afternoon drive. And I'm like, holy shit, Jason's on at 3:00 in the afternoon. People are hearing him. And the one thing that you have to realize, which I don't know that I could verbalize, but being on the radio in the town that you grew up in, is if I feel so sorry for people that, because radio is such a gypsy business and you got to move around a little bit and you got to go chase the openings of the jobs. And for us to get that taste of working in our home at the cool station that we grew up listening to. And believe me, we're all driven by ego in this. There was nothing cooler than somebody that you went to high school with. It wasn't even a revenge thing. It wasn't like, I'll show you. I didn't have that experience. No. It just having people hear you in your hometown that you're on the cool radio station. It was amazing. And there's a lot of people that do what we do for a living. I mean, you're in New Orleans. I'm in Houston. It's great. You're in a great situation. It's just not our hometowns. But we had that though. We both had that experience of working in our hometowns. And that was the best. I can't even imagine somebody graduating from school and then their first job being in, you're leaving Buffalo and you go to Boise, Idaho. And people, the internet wasn't what the internet was. So people that graduate, you went to school with in your hometown, they don't know what you're doing over here. So you never got to kind of show off a little bit that you had the cool job. Well, we did.
We were lucky, man. And what was cool about that is that you would sit there and I would do my radio show, midnight to 6 a.m. or whatever on the weekends. Cause that's where you start, man. There's no slide into morning drive, man. You got to earn your spot and you got to earn it and earn it and earn it. But the thing is we had the work ethic. We showed that we gave a shit. I mean, look, anyone in their right mind in that building down the hall at the rock station could see the two of us giving stock market updates that we're reading off of a TV twice an hour, realizing that wasn't our lifelong dream. And I think they went, you know what? Those two morons look like they might be okay, but let's put them through some serious shit first. And they did, man. They ran us through the ringer. I remember one of the first times you were on the air, dude, and I will never forget this forever. It was the greatest.
I mean, are you talking about the very first time I was on the air?
I don't know if it was the very first time on the air, because I don't think I listened, because I was like, no, the first time on the air, you are going to be bad. But
it was 1 hour. It was Sunday at midnight.
Yeah, but you had this deal, and you were, I think you might have been filling in at this point for somebody one day. So everyone's in the office, and the radio station piped through the office, right? Through the phones and through everything. So it was always on because you got to monitor the station, right? So everyone's there. All the rock jocks are there. Everyone's there doing their business. And you do a break, and I swear to God, it was the funniest fucking thing I ever heard in my life. And it was also
meaning it was bad. Okay, I speak Jason. That means it was awful and it was terrible.
It was the most cringeworthy, but yet brilliant break I'd ever heard. And up to that point, out of anybody, there was this band. You're gonna shit your pants.
I'm cringing right now because I don't know what you're gonna say. I'm freaking out.
And you got to remember the time. This was what, like 94, 95. So, you know, you're still dealing in a lot of weird bands. There's this band called Rumble Dog.
Oh, God.
There's this band called Rumble Dog, right? And they had this weird song. I haven't heard it in years. I need to go dig it up. Anyway, and it was being played on the radio. And at the time, think about mid-90s, ESPN was massive. You know, Chris Berman could walk on water, and he had all the sayings. That's where all the, you know, he could go all the way and all that shit comes down.
I'm going to put a brown bag on my head for the rest of this story. Go ahead.
So Rod he's not afraid to take a chance occasionally. So he does this break, and he comes on the radio, and he's like, and then, you know, all hyped up, way overdoing it, right? Because that's what we did. We had so much energy on the air. He's like, yeah, 103.3 The Fox. Here it is, man. The new one from Rumbling, Stumbling, Bumbling Rumble Dog.
Dude, I want to jump out of my skin right now. I want to jump out of my skin.
Holy shit. So, dude, I remember I'm like walking down the hallway with some tapes, and I stopped dead in my tracks. I went, oh, that was really kind of a smart break, because you were tying in pop culture reference. You made a joke about the band, and you moved on. There's nothing wrong with the break. But I could feel this shit coming down the alleyway and heading straight for you for the next 6 months, because everyone in the building just stopped and froze. And pretty soon you could hear it. I could hear it chirping in the hallways. Rumbling, stumbling, bumbling. Dude, when you came out of this studio, I think you just ate a mile of horse shit for the next week. From
the next day, everybody. I walk into the station. And God rest his soul, the late great Iron Mike Benson,
the best,
who we both idolized. I walk in. He must have saw me park out the window. He's on the air, and I walk in the building. He picks up the phone and hits star whatever for the intercom, and he times it out as soon as I walk in, and he goes, "Here he is, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, Rod Ryan," and I wanted to kill myself. I could not believe that this legend, this guy that I grew up listening to, you know, number one, he heard it. Number two, those guys busted our balls. They did not make it easy on us at all. Every day. They were very helpful to us because we were up and coming. I don't think you got to have a bit of an ego to be in this radio business. And I don't think anyone there looked at us as a threat. I really don't. They appreciated all the work. They gave us time. They worked with us a little bit, not much. Okay. They weren't going to say, hey, here's how you're a young guy in the industry. I'm aging out here. I'm going to give you all the tools to how you can steal my job. They weren't like that. But they did help you, though. They were helpful. And even in busting your balls, and sometimes in them not helping, they were helping. They were tough. I mean, they were tough dudes. But I love every single one of them. And I wouldn't have changed it at all, because we eventually did replace all those people. And more so because of the music and the changing of the format. You know, you just mentioned Rumble Dog. This radio station, the Fox, was like a rock station. And, you know, we were playing, you know, Zeppelin and Ozzy. And back then it was Dokken and, you know, Guns N' Roses. But it was a rock station. And all of those dudes eventually got fired, except for Shred and Reagan in the morning, who God love them, are still there. Talk about legends. And the station changed format to an alternative format. And then it was shortly after that that Jason and I got our full-time jobs. And back to the same old story. Jason and I get hired on the exact day. The same day we get hired full-time at this new alternative station, which is our music now. We both loved Van Halen and AC/DC. That's what we grew up on. But you think about us, and this whole grunge thing is taking over. And that's where those guys got worried. It wasn't so much that they were worried about us. They were worried about the culture change of grunge and alternative coming in. And, you know, I think they saw the writing on the wall that this radio station that was a rock station could possibly, you know, morph into something else. Well, when you change formats of a radio station, you change out all the personnel. Everybody they kept the morning show who are still there. But there you go. Jason and I, we get hired on the very same day. Again, we're having this shared experience. But you know what? I'm going to tell you the story because I want to see if you remember it the same way of when we got hired. Jason got hired before me. It was kind of, I'll leave it at this. It's kind of like when twins run around and one of them says, yeah, but technically I'm older because I was born 2 minutes before. So that one twin runs around and he does feel like he's the dominant, he's the alpha of the twins. Right. That's Jason. Okay. He got hired about 2 minutes before me. So I want to talk about, we have another sponsor, if you can believe that. So New Orleans, it's opening up. Jason, you said this weekend, the quarter's packed.
Rocking, dude. The Bourbon Street. I mean, the bars are, I mean, you still got to mask up in the bars and it's still, you know, semi-limited, but man, you can rip it up here.
This fall, if you think about it, really could be epic in New Orleans. If you're planning a trip to New Orleans, there's so much greatness that's planned for October. If Jazz Fest still comes off as planned, Jazz Fest is over early, man. You're going to be looking for stuff to do. You're going to want to go down to the quarter. I'm talking about booking a tour now. Make your trip epic and book a tour. Pirates of the Quarter. It's a walking tour. It's amazing. I've been on it. Okay. The most unique walking tour in all of the French Quarter. Pirate history, New Orleans history. They go hand in hand with one another. It's going to be fun. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to discover the pirate history, which is real pirate history. I know you don't want to, you know, shit on other tours. These are all real factual stories, and they're interesting enough that you don't have to make up a bunch of crap. So New Orleans and pirates, they go together, and this tour is unbelievable. So you're walking through the quarter. Go to piratesofthequarter.com, and we're going to have links up on all of our Play Pants stuff. Piratesofthequarter.com. You can book your tour and go to New Orleans, man. It's going to be back. It is back.
It kind of is. It's back. I mean, I ran into a bunch of people from Houston and Dallas this weekend down there, and they're all like, yeah, man, just cruised in. You know, it's a short cruise for the weekend. It's awesome. We're having a blast. And just want to come into town and see you, Jason, because we know that you've been in radio 2 minutes longer than Rod. 2 minutes longer than Rod, professionally.
So the radio station, when they fire all of our idols. They fire everybody that we grew up listening to.
That was harsh.
And they don't let anybody talk on this new radio station. It's just music. It's alternative. But we're there. We're there on the day of the changeover. I was the guy that was given the music. So the boss at the time, Vince Richards, has everybody in the office. He pulls me aside. He goes, Rod, I need you to go upstairs. He handed me 2 carts. They look like 8 tracks. We used to play music off of them. And each one was one song, and it was REM. It's The End of the World as We Know It. He hands me 2 carts and he goes, I want you to play The Legal ID at 12 o'clock noon. I want you to play REM. I said, okay, I can do that. Then he goes, then play the other cart. It's REM. It's The End of the World as We Know It. He goes, play it next. I go, the same song back to back? He goes, yeah, you're going to keep doing that. I said, what do you mean? He goes, don't fucking ask me a lot of questions. Just go up there and do it. So, and I just go, I don't want to screw this up, man, because he's kind of new and he's the boss. I mean, of course, you just want to do everything right for the boss. He said, play this one, then play this one. then play this one, then play this one. And I'm like, back to back. He goes, yeah, we're changing formats. Don't say anything. Go now. That's everything that I know. Wow. You go into the meeting with all of our legendary radio personalities. I go upstairs. No. He did not tell me we're changing format. He just told me to go do what I was doing. He didn't even give me that information. So I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I play the legal ID. And then it's the end of the world as we know it. Song ends 3 minutes, 50 seconds later. Boom, I hit the next one. Phone lines are lit up. Dude, you're playing the same song twice. Now, I'm not picking up he goes, don't touch the phones, don't do anything. I wasn't allowed to do anything.
Right.
And then I'm going back and forth. I'm on the third play of REM. And again, legend, Iron Mike Benson, who Jason and I worshipped. He comes in with the most awful look on his face. And he just looks at me, and I'm playing REM. And, I don't know what's going on. Because, again, he did not tell me we're switching formats. He looks at me. He goes, I just got fucking fired.
Oof.
I didn't know. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know what to do. It was like somebody telling me that somebody died.
Yeah.
He said that the station is switching to alternative, and everybody's blown out. And I'm just, what?
What's that even mean at that point in your career? You don't even know what that
I don't
means.
know what it means. And then I look out the window and I see everybody walking to their cars. All of the guys that we listen to on the radio, they're all walking to their cars. Jason comes upstairs because, did they tell everybody to leave? I don't know this story because you're in the room.
Because what happened is they called 2 meetings, right? And so we're all like, and the boss always had a meeting like once a month. So all the jocks would sit around and we'd talk, right? And he'd go over everything. So he goes, hey, we're gonna have a meeting today. So, I go wander down to the meeting like I always do, ready to go and take a beating. And then he goes, well, no. You and you're gonna go this way. And then all the guys who got fired stayed in this other meeting. It was all the.
You weren't in the room with the guys when they were told they were let go.
No, they did it. They separated. I don't know this story. Out. Oh, dude, it was wild. Okay. So of course I'm feeling something in the air, right? Because I know that Vince grabbed you and you took off. I'm like, okay, what's going on, right? So immediately you start tripping out, right?
And I don't feel safe. I don't know what I feel at this point. I don't know what's going on. He didn't want me asking any questions. He said, just go do it.
So then all the full-time guys at the Fox and everybody who worked there goes into the one normal meeting room. And then me and like a promotions guy and somebody else and a couple other people go with Vince down the hall, out the door, down the street to our other sister station, to a meeting room. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting fired, man. Like I thought I was getting fired with all these guys because we're all the low end of the totem pole.
You guys caravanned out of the building and went to the other radio station.
Went down the hall, down the street, because we were sister stations.
Who's hosting the dudes that are about to get fired?
Well, now I know that it was HR, it was the general manager, it was the firing dudes, it was the firing squad. That was who was in with our old mentors, right? I didn't know it at the time. I just went, I'm not with the cool guys. This is bad for me and these guys, all these young guys.
So I probably know before you. And if I'm thinking you're walking down to the other radio station, Benson's coming upstairs on the third spin of REM, because they're not going to sit around and fire you and then, shoot the shit. They're like, okay, gather your stuff and go. It's quick. And it's, believe it or not, it's even quicker in this day and age. So he was allowed to go upstairs because his stuff was up there.
Right.
Because he was getting ready to work and do his shift and all of that. So you go down to the other building, you come back.
Well, I'm in the building and I'm sitting around this conference table and I'm sweating and I'm freaking. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get fired and I barely got a job and they're gonna fire my dumb ass. This sucks, man. I'm like, okay, well, what are the radio stations? I'm running through every option in my skull. I'm burning through. What am I gonna do? I don't have any money. Holy shit, I can't even drive home. I don't have enough gas in the car, And I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm dead. This is gonna suck, right? I'm like, all right, take it like a man. Just take it like a man. Don't cry. Just don't cry, So I'm sitting there and then there's Vince, our new boss. And then there's like some other dude in a suit and there's some other dude. And I don't know any of these guys. And I'm like, oh my God, who are these guys? Are these suits from like higher up that I don't know? Oh my God, how am I getting fired so bad? Did I screw something up? And they go, and then Vince just goes, all right, boys, what's happening right now is down the street the former air staff is being notified they're being let go. Rod is in the studio right now playing REM's It's the End of the World as we know it over and over and over again on loop. And he's going to do that for the next couple of hours because we are changing formats to an alternative rock radio station. And then I'm like, here it comes. I'm fired. Shit. And you guys are all going to be part of the new team. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that sentence because I'm just, you know how you're burning inside and you're just losing your shit and you're trying to keep it together.
You're stretching your neck out so they got a good clean cut.
I'm like,
you're like,
okay,
go give it to me.
Give it to me good, right? And then one of the suits starts talking and he's going on about alternative is this and it's they start talking about all the details of the money that
damn, you're getting all of this intel and I still don't know what I'm doing.
I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing a word anyone. All I'm hearing is that buzz sound. Like that's all I'm hearing. Because I keep waiting for and Ginty, you're fired. And Ginty, you're fired. Never came. I go and I'm numb. I'm numb from head to toe because then I start sinking in. I'm like, wait, did they just fire all the dudes I've worked with for the last couple of years and listened to for my entire life? Whoa, that's fucked up. And then I go out. Vince goes, come with me, Ginty. And I'm like, okay. Go out to his car. He opens up the trunk of his car and pulls out a huge box with about 80 CDs and goes, go put those in the file and rip out all that old shit. And I went,
yeah.
What? And he goes, just do it. And I go, all right. So we go across the street. I come into the studio and here we are again. Here's you going, what the fuck's going on? What the fuck's going on? What the fuck's going on?
Dude, I played this thing 15 times. What's going on with this?
So then I go, well, I don't think I got fired. I'm not really sure yet. Because I was just spinning. My head was spinning because it was so fast and so furious. And I go, but here's some CDs. And then Vince comes in and then we straighten out. And then Vince is like, all right, Rodney, kind of explain things to you, I think, a little bit more. And then we start chucking CDs and we're like, see you later, rumbling, stumbling dog. Here comes Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
It was weird, but it was awesome.
Jerry, the prize fairy is there as well. God rest his soul. He's with you. And he is so excited and he's freaking out and blah, blah, blah. And I remember Vince telling him, shut up. Like he really was so excited that he was going to maybe be a part of this. Now, Jason and I, again, we're not thinking at all that, okay, we're going to be a part of this. But again, on this stupid bottom rung peon level, we're just going to be, I never saw myself as anything more than a weekend fill-in guy,
Right.
But you want to talk about a moment in my career is when, because you and I, we're both doing the same thing. We're grabbing the CD rack now and we're pulling out Led Zeppelin and we're pulling out Black Sabbath. We're pulling out Rumble Dog. We're pulling out Screaming Cheetah Wheelies. Okay, all these one-hit wonders. But we're pulling out all of the rock stuff.
Right.
I said, do you want to leave anything? He said, get it all out. Take it all out.
Go on.
And the CDs from Vince's box. And this is where Jerry was losing his shit because he starts going through the box. He's like, oh my God, we're going to play Jane's Addiction. And he just kept pulling out CD after CD. We're going to play, like, he's a part of this. Like, he's a huge part of this, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to play this. Oh my God, we're going to play Veruca Salt. I love this song. Oh my God, Filter. This is amazing. Hey man, nice shot. I've been telling everybody we got to play this song. We take all of that out and we put all the new stuff in. And nobody was talking on the radio station. So whatever this REM thing happened for a couple of hours, and then music just started playing. This would be the great trivia question. I don't know if you know this. I don't know the answer. What's the first real song played on the station?
Oh, wow.
I remember Veruca Salt. I remember Hey Man, Nice Shot was big around then. Veruca Salt would have been Seether.
That's a tough one, man.
Any idea what the very first song? Because REM will go down as the first song played.
It seems like there'd be a
second song.
It seems like there would have been a statement of some sort. Usually,
Nope.
No, I meant like a statement song. Like,
I don't know how much thought they put into that.
You play a Goo Goo Dolls song because they were from there and they were big in that area at the time before they blew up, but I don't know if that.
But the statement had already been made for 2 hours. I think it was 2 hours. The statement had been made for 2 hours, REM over and over again. That was your statement. Right. Radio stations have been known to do that for a weekend. There's all sorts of little stunts that they've done, to get people kind of talking about it. I'm surprised they didn't go a little longer. I remember it to be a couple of hours, and then we just started playing music. And
no idea.
They needed us to run the board. We were forbidden from talking. You just followed along on the log, and you just played the CD, and you played the next one. You played the next one. That's all it was. And that went on for, wow. If I remember it correctly, that went on for a month and a half, almost 2 months.
Yeah, it was boring as shit. Boring.
Was it 2 months?
It was a while. I remember just being frustrated, like, what the hell, dude? We got to do something.
But they let us on the weekends. They let us do some weekend shifts. So that's how they could hear us on the station, because there's no way they're going to hire us. So they did let us do some weekend stuff. And of course, Jason had so much experience over me. Jason was getting all these primetime weekend shifts, meaning, on when people were awake. And then, there's dumb Rod, put him on the overnights because he blows. So, I'm doing overnight stuff. Jason's doing primetime stuff on the weekends. So we get to do that. So we get to do that for a couple of months. And what you do is you do an air check, and you record yourself on cassette back then. And you're supposed to go home and listen to it and critique yourself and learn from it. You really do have to you have to be very self-motivated to be in this business. But your boss wants to meet with you, and he wants to listen to your tape to hear how you're doing. Not that he's not listening, but he's not up at midnight hearing me. So he's listening to me on the air checks. So we were doing regular air checks, and the same thing got told to me, slow down. You're screaming. You're excited. I get it, Rod. Pull back.
Mm-hmm.
I never got any kind of an indicator that he even kind of liked it. It's very, very hard to hear criticism. Think about just the average person out there. If you hear, somebody plays a message that you leave for somebody on their phone and they play it on speaker, you're like, oh, my voice sounds like that. That never goes away. It doesn't matter if you talk for a living or not. That feeling never, ever goes away.
No.
So we got air checks, Jason and I. Jason's got an air check, and here comes the twin. Here comes the twins, and one twin being born 2 minutes ahead of time that never lets that other twin forget it.
Come on.
Jason's air check is at noon. Mine's at 12:30. We're both at the station hanging out. That's what we did. We always wanted to be seen. So of course I'm there. I'm there early, I'm practicing. I'm working in one of the production studios. Jason goes down for his air check. We have no indication that this is a special day at all. There's nothing special about this day. We're just doing an air check, as we've done every week with the guy that's the program director, Vince Richards. Jason comes up to the room that I'm in. He goes, I just got hired full time. I said, what? I just got hired full time. They offered me 7 to midnight. That's your crazy, out of control rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. I don't know if we hug. I don't know what we do, but I just remember being I remember being so happy for you. I'm not thinking of myself at all yet, but I will. Dude, the look on your face, and for me to get that news first, because we don't have cell phones. You're not texting your family and stuff. You come up and you tell me that you're hired full time. We both just loaded in our pants.
Yeah.
It was the best, dude. I'll never forget that look on your face. It was priceless. It was so great that I heard that news first.
I remember floating up the stairs because think about it, from the internship when we first met to this point, it's been 3 or 4 years of just eating crud, right? So, and you've been looking to get to this moment. So you finally get to this moment, right? And it's like, I didn't hear a word a guy said either, man, because I was freaking when he said you're hired full time. I didn't hear a damn thing after that. And I'm like, I can't wait to go tell Rod. Holy shit, he's going to lose his mind. And then I'm not paying attention. So I go upstairs, I tell you. And then as I'm telling you again, I'm all excited. I'm jacked up. And I went, oh shit, this dude hasn't got hired. Now I feel like an asshole. Every time I tell you something, I'd be like, oh shit, damn it.
Right.
Afterwards.
It's always happening to Jason first.
And
everything.
But I knew you were going down.
This dude's blowing past me.
But I knew you were going down there at 12:30, and I'm like, fuck, I hope he gets the call, man.
But that's when I knew the day was special. So that's when I knew something special was happening. Now, Jason is so far advanced over me. He's got so many more reps. He's been plugged into every shift. He's been the go-to guy. So he's in basketball. He's the man off the bench, man. He is the sixth man that as soon as anybody needs anything, it's Jason. So you got offered 7 to midnight.
Right.
So I'm excited to go down for my air check session. And I'm prepared and I'm kind of excited to be offered a job. And I'm thinking the way that the world works, mornings, afternoon drive, those are your bookends for importance on the station. Not that 7 to midnight and middays aren't important, but here's how my brain is putting this all together as I'm walking down the stairs now, going to my air check. Jason got 7 to midnight. Okay. I'm prepared. I'm kind of excited. I think I'm going to be offered a job because I'm putting in the work. I'm getting better. I still blow. They're probably going to offer me overnights. I'm going to get overnights, which I'm okay with. Getting a full-time job and benefits and all of that was huge. So I'm going into this meeting and there's 25 steps down in the station that we're working in. And in that time, I just have it made up in my mind that I'm going to get a job offer. I'm still excited about it. Overnights. Okay. The thing about overnights, I do know this, and you knew this even back at the time, you can get lost on overnights. You can get forgotten about on overnights because you're not there when everything's happening at the radio station, you're not there. That's why we spent so much time at the station, making sure that everybody saw us. I know that you can kind of just get forgotten about on overnights.
Right.
So I'm kind of excited to go into this meeting and I'm into it. So I sit down. I'm like, hey, Vince, I go, here's my cassette. I suck. Here it is. Yeah. And he tosses it back to me. And Vince, he's got that shit-eating grin on his face. He just can't he's smiling. So I'm like, here, this guy comes with the big overnight package for me.
Awesome. It's going to be great.
Which is going to be like 10 grand a year. So I'm still excited. He goes, well, we like what you've been doing. And, we've got to, move forward and we got to finally get some personalities on this radio station. So what we are offering you still the whole time, overnight, I'm getting overnights. Okay. I'm getting overnights. It's just gonna be a different world. Okay. I'm going to sleep. I'm figuring out everything. I'm planning the rest of my life being overnights for 10 grand a year. He said, we really like what you've been doing. I'm like, just say it. He said, we'd like you to do afternoon drive 3 to 7.
Yeah. And then you didn't hear another thing after that. You didn't hear anything.
That's it. I said, I go, what? He said, we'd like you to do 3 to 7. It pays $18,000 a year. I said, where do I fucking sign? I said that. And he laughed. And he said, well, we don't have anything, there was no contracts or anything. They didn't want to lock us in for any amount of time because they didn't know. No. They knew that we sucked. There was no money. Thank God they didn't have a budget because we would have never gotten jobs. If they had any kind of a budget to bring people in, and Buffalo is kind of tough to bring people, from other states. Everybody thinks it's the middle of October, August, and it's a blizzard. So I go upstairs and dude, afternoon drive, and we're just like, dude, we're gonna party. I'm gonna be on, and then you're gonna come on, and then blah 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 blah. We're gonna fucking ruin this. We're gonna wreck this place. And it was so much fun. Crazy. Getting hired on the same day. We could sit here and try to get across to you how excited we were. We can try to paint the picture till our tits turn blue. You just won't get it. The fact that one other person experienced that with me, and then I got to experience that with you. It just, these things that happen to us on the exact same day, it's stupid. Now, Jason, of course, is the twin that was born 2 minutes before me because he got hired first. So he's been in the business a little longer than I.
But what's interesting about that is that, it's kind of cool because we had come so far. You know what I mean? We had come so far from that day. Hey, Rod, this is Jason. Rod, go do a metal show. And what did we do? immediately afterwards, probably got drunk off our minds for a couple of days. But then what do? We sat down and we got to work, man. We started figuring shit out. We're both like, we suck. We're not good at this. Still, we still suck. So it's like we started working on shit. I remember you doing all kinds of shit. What about this? Well, what about this? And we had guys coming in, try it like this, do this, don't say this, don't say that, all this stuff, trying to mold us in a certain way.
Consultants came in to work with us.
And we just got to work.
We didn't know what we were doing.
But again, we started working. We started trying shit. We started doing things and going back to the original story that is cringe-worthy, right? The rumble, stumble, dumble dog story. You know what? Because you took a chance and you took a chance and it worked. You ate a bunch of shit for it. But because you had that mindset of like, wait a minute, just saying rumble dog doesn't stand out on the radio. I can't move somebody to come down and get a cassette, right? By just going, hey, here's rumble dog.
So rip off Chris Berman.
Yes, but to make it work for you, right? So you were able to move people. And I think that's what these guys heard deep down between underneath all our horse shit was the things we could pull off in a radio station. It was raw. It wasn't very good, but there were nuggets in there and they didn't have any money. And they went, we could give these guys a bag of nuts and twist their titties a couple times a week and they will say yes. So I think those two things work together pretty good for us.
Yeah. $18,000 a year. And I could not have been happier. And I was just finishing up school. I said, dude, it was the middle of summer. I'm like, I got 2 more weeks of, he's like, no, you got to start immediately. So for another time, I had to finish up summer school. I had 1 more class. I had Spanish 4 that I was trying to figure out. And I had to do that. I had to move some things around, but then we started right away. And then that was kind of it. We're on station. We're on the station, which had the biggest buzz in the city of Buffalo. It was 103.3, The Edge. It was an alternative station. And it was what everybody was talking about. And we were there on the ground floor. And then just being on the ground floor of all of those bands and everything that's happening. Because this is 94?
95. Yeah, it was like 94, 90. We're creeping in 95 because we only been there. Well, yeah, might have been end of 94 because by 96 we were heading in a different direction. In the fall.
And then, to be honest with you, I did not plan this podcast to be talking about this the whole time. I really didn't. So just to wrap it up, eventually, Jason goes one way. He leaves Buffalo and then I stay. And then we get the opportunity to go down to New Orleans together. So here we are again, coming together in New Orleans and then going different ways, coming back to New Orleans, doing a morning show together. Jason and I actually wound up doing a morning show together for 1 year, my last year in New Orleans. And then I moved to Houston. And
it wasn't my fault, by the way. It wasn't my fault that it ended. I just want to make that very clear. I had nothing to do with that part of it. I wanted to keep doing it. That's a different story for a different day.
So now I've been in Houston for 18 years. And this is like Clockwork Orange. And there's what you don't get to see if you're just listening to this podcast is they've got clamps on my eyes and they're forcing me to look at Jason's face again after all of these years to relive all of this stuff. It is exactly like Clockwork Orange. And, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel and I'm seeing your dumb head right there, it is so unbelievably satisfying to sit here and to talk to you again like this and share some of the things that we've done. I don't anticipate this podcast just sitting around and shooting the shit and just talking about our careers. We have so many stories to tell, yes, but I want to use this forum to do everything. And I get a ton of time to talk in the morning. Doing mornings in Houston, I get a ton of time.
Right.
Where I really didn't think I needed this in my life. The guys that want to do a podcast are the guys that do shifts during the day. You do middays. The guys even on afternoons and 7 to midnight. You have such a small window to talk that it maybe leaves you like you wanting more. I can honestly tell you, when I get done doing mornings in Houston every day at 10 o'clock, boom, I have left it all rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. I've left it all out there. I'm done. At 10 o'clock, I don't always feel great about everything. I don't feel like it was an amazing show, but I do feel like, okay, boom, very satisfied that I got to use all that air. So that's why I put this off for such a long time. And Jason and I have been talking we've been doing these we've been mocking them, meaning doing phony ones, just getting to reacquaint one another with, going back and forth. And it's been super fun. And I really look forward to doing more of this. I really, really do.
I'm looking for, to be able to do it again is cool, because I know we have a unique rapport. We have that back and forth. It's harder over this. There's always those delays and those things that your timing is always going to be jacked on this, but it's still going to be fine. We'll figure that out. But yeah, no, I didn't plan on talking about our dumb shit this long either. But I think there's enough people over the years who listen to you in Houston, listen to us in New Orleans, and listen to me, who are like, yeah, I know they work together and they know us. Some people do, and give them the backstory. Make it so it's understandable, because we have a community already starting on our social medias, and follow us at Playpants Pod everywhere and on YouTube. We got a community, and they're talking about like, oh, I remember when they did this. I remember when they did that in New Orleans. So, I think a lot of people who used to listen to us have no idea how this all started. So I think having this as a base, and I know not real entertaining for most people, and that's okay. They're going to get way better, because we got some cool stuff, and we're going to talk so much music and so much radio and so much movie shit and pop culture stuff that it'll make your head spin. But I think this is good. And I think we need to maybe push to the next episode, the New Orleans stuff, because the New Orleans stuff is even wilder than the Buffalo stuff, man. And
like you said, we're going to get into all sorts of other things. I don't know how to do this yet. I don't. The fact that, I'm not breaking for commercials and doing this, it's still it's gonna take me a little time. I only know how to do what I do one way. So those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm showing all the papers and everything that's typed up and ready to go. Like, just like I do for the morning show, I'm typed up, and you're a dummy too. You've got all of these things, and we didn't get to any of it. Which just means that, okay, boom, grab it, punt, go to the next one. And, it's good. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's great talking to you again. That'll be the last nice thing I say to you for the history of the show.
The first nice thing you've ever said to me. Jesus, man. Final thoughts, Rod? Final thoughts? Final thoughts. Give me a final thought. Real quick, final thought.
Okay, well, I will. Okay, something completely unrelated to what we had talked about. Final thought for me is Easter is this Sunday. And, it's such a hacky thing to kind of bitch about Peeps. Everyone knows it's like the most hated candy of all time with Easter. We just go through the whole thing. My sister and my mom sent my kid, London, a care package for Easter. I think it's pretty well known that nobody in the history of the Ryans or anybody likes Peeps. We open up this box of all this Easter shit and candy and all this stuff, which my kid doesn't need. No kid does. And there's packages of Peeps in there. And I'm like, I hold them up because we got to do everything on the phone now. Sure. And I'm like, guys, are you serious? What is it? Who likes these? So still nothing has changed since I was a little kid looking for my own Easter basket from the Easter Bunny. We ate everything but the Peeps. My mom must have noticed that, and she continues to keep this going. Sent my kid a shit ton of Peeps for Easter. Why?
Because you know what? As a mom, and man, I used to get my Easter basket. I'd eat all the chocolate. I'd eat the Cadbury egg, which was like special because we had one each. My brother had one, and like that was the sacred ground in your Easter basket. Bunch of shitty jelly beans. And then you had some Peeps, and they'd just be sitting there looking at you like, come on, go and get me. And it's like,
nobody ate it.
That should get hard as a rock for weeks. So yeah, I'm with you there, man.
So that continues here at my house. So have a happy Easter, everybody. Final thoughts, Jason Ginty.
Just excited about this, man. I think there's a lot of potential here. I think there's a lot of possibilities here. I think what's going to be great is that once we get rolling and we get our legs under us a little bit, we're going to put in the effort. This is not just going to be us shooting the shit, even though today was kind of just us shooting the shit.
Can we use some of this stuff? can we, I did spend some time prepping.
Oh no, I spent hours. I mean, we both do every week, and this goes back. And what's great, let me wrap it up with this. What you're seeing today is where it all began 27 years ago when we got put together to do the Metal Asylum. We immediately got down to work. We got down to work and we started writing down ideas on paper. We started getting to work. When we got hired in Buffalo, we started writing shit down on pieces of paper and we began to get to work. We started talking about this podcast. And what did we do? We started to get to work. So kids, if you want to be successful and be a radio DJ or anything in life, just do the work and good shit is going to happen to you. You got to put in the work. You got to do it. We still are doing it. We don't have to do this podcast. That's the thing. We're doing it because we want to. We want to do this. Put in the work. Put in the work. That's all you got.
If there's even one person listening, thank you. I don't know who possibly would make it to the end of this.
I know who.
Thank you.
My mom. I know I haven't called you in a couple of weeks. Consider this the call. Consider this the call, Mom. Thanks. Good to see you again.
All right, bro. New episodes every Thursday, and we clearly have a lot to talk about. And I think this was a pretty good introduction, or it was an awful introduction. But I can tell you that the rest of the shows will not sound like this one. But I think it's a good way to kind of figure out and get your bearings. Okay, who are these guys? Who's doing what? What's happening here? And it's going to be fun, man. So for that one guy that's still listening, man, I appreciate you, Blue. Thanks for hanging in there with us.